Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for today, Monday, August 19th. If you're joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over my core picks, which is going to be based on a combination of past performance versus the respective opponent, as well as some recent history. And that's going to be one pitcher, 4 hitters in total. Then after that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet, which can be found on Twitter, Facebook, and the YouTube community tab. So definitely feel free to use that as you're building out your lineups for tonight's slate overall. And then from that cheat sheet, we'll be talking about my top GPP teams to stack for tonight's slate. A lot of different interesting teams out there tonight, so feel free to kind of expand beyond the 4 that I do have listed there as well. But without further ado, we'll get started with the core picks for tonight's slate. So we're going to start off at the pitcher position with Seth Lugo of the Kansas City Royals going against the Los Angeles Angels. He's $9,400, averaging just under 35 fantasy points per game, so a really solid season for him once again. Been a little bit slower as of late, but has really good history versus the Angels in the past. A little bit of limited history there at that, but this year versus the Los Angeles Angels, he had 67 points. Last year he had 37 points against them, so at $9,400, looks like a really strong play if we can get anything close to the performances that he's had as of late versus them. And if we look at what he's done over the course of the season, he has 13 wins, which either leads the majors or really close up there. And then his ERA is just over 3 at 3.04. And once again, averaging about 35 fantasy points per game at $9,400. A couple different high-end pitching options that you can look at tonight overall. Guys, whether, that's that 10K range and above, whether it's kind of that mid-price range, Seth Lugo, Taj Bradley, guys like that. And then we're going to move down to our hitters. We'll start off with Mark Vientos. You can play him at first base. You can play him at third base. He's $3,200, averaging about 10.5 fantasy points per game. Goes against the Baltimore Orioles. Trevor Rogers is the expected starting pitcher, and he is 2 for 2 versus Trevor Rogers in his career. If we look at what Mark Vientos has done as of late, he's on a modest 6-game hitting streak. 2 of those games have been multi-hit games, 2 home runs during that time span. 4 double-digit performances and 5 games of at least 9 fantasy points or higher. So it looks like a pretty solid, safe play overall. If you want to get to the Mets stack tonight, definitely does make a little bit of sense as they have hit Trevor Rogers pretty well over the past couple of seasons. And if we look at what Mark Vientos has done on the season, he's got 277 average, 19 home runs, 49 RBIs, once again averaging about 10.5 fantasy points per game at $3,200. And it's been a pretty solid year for him for a guy that didn't start the year in the majors. And then we're going to move down to another guy that did not start this season in the majors as well. Actually, recently got called up in Junior Caminero of the Tampa Bay Rays. He's at third base, $2,400, averaging just over 7.5 fantasy points per game. Very small sample size for him, but he's on a modest 3-game hitting streak as we do speak. No history in the past versus Joe Boyle, the expected starting pitcher for the Oakland A's, but should be a favorable matchup there if he can hit one of those fastballs that Boyle likes to throw pretty straight down the middle or get walked. Should require some fantasy points overall tonight. And like I said, Junior Caminero is on a modest 3-game hitting streak. 2 of those games have been multi-hit games, 0 home runs during that time span, 1 double-digit performance, and all 3 games have been at least 9 fantasy points or higher. So it looks like a really good value at $2,400. If we look at what he's done in that brief time up this season, 333 average, 0 home runs, 1 RBI, once again averaging over 7.5 fantasy points per game at $2,400. Then we're going to move down to shortstop with O'Neal Cruz, $3,100, averaging about 10.5 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Texas Rangers tonight. Jose Urena is the expected starting pitcher, and O'Neal Cruz is 1 for 3 versus Jose Urena in his career. And if we look at what he's done as of late, he has at least 1 hit in 4 out of his last 5 games. 2 multi-hit games during that time span. 0 home runs, so that's kind of the one downside, but he does have 4 double-digit performances during that time span, so definitely like the floor and the upside of O'Neal Cruz tonight. And if we look at what he's done so far in the season, 261 average, which is actually pretty good for him, as that batting average was a little bit of a concern with the strikeouts and everything, but has had a really solid season in that regard. 18 home runs, 61 RBIs, once again averaging about 10.5 fantasy points per game at $3,100. And then last but not least, we're going to go down to the outfield with Rob Refsnyder. $2,800, averaging just over 8 fantasy points per game. He's going against Houston Astros and Yusei Kikuchi as that expected starting pitcher. If we look at what Rob Refsnyder's done in his career versus Yusei Kikuchi, he's 3 for 8. Guy that typically hits left-handed pitching pretty well. And as of late, Rob Refsnyder has at least 1 hit in his last 5 starts, 1 multi-hit game during the time span, 1 home run, and 3 double-digit performances. So it looks like a pretty solid value option once again. If we look at what he's done so far on the season, 298 batting average, 8 home runs, 33 RBIs, averaging just over 8 fantasy points per game at $2,800. Looks like a pretty interesting value play on tonight's slate overall. Boston Red Sox have hit Yusei Kikuchi pretty well in the past, although Kikuchi has pitched pretty well in his last 3 starts. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you have $14,100 remaining. just over $3,500 per player. So a lot of room and flexibility there. Obviously, stacks are going to matter a little bit more on tonight's slate. If you want to play up at that pitcher position, should definitely have the money and the flexibility to do that as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for tonight's slate overall. Once again, the cheat sheet is 100% free. It's up on Facebook, it's up on Twitter, it's up on the YouTube community tab. So definitely feel free to check it out as you're building out your lineups for tonight's slate overall. But the 4 teams that I do have for tonight's slate in terms of top GPP stacks, I'm going to start off with the Toronto Blue Jays. It's either going to be a bullpen game for the Cincinnati Reds with Hunter Green landing on the IL as of yesterday, or it's going to be Jesus, I believe, Aguilar, probably mispronouncing his name, making his MLB debuts. Pitched pretty well in the minors, but still making his MLB debut, so there could be some upside with that Blue Jays lineup. And then we move over to the Pittsburgh Pirates, going against Jose Urena. Not like a long list of history for a lot of these hitters on this Pirates team, but they have hit him pretty well in the past. He's a guy that typically, until this season, had pitched pretty poorly, so should be some pretty significant upside there as well. And then we move over to the Boston Red Sox. Like I mentioned with Rob Snyder, they have typically hit Yusei Kikuchi pretty well in the past. Kikuchi's pitched really well his last 3 starts, so we'll see how that one kind of shakes out. Maybe a little bit more of a sneaky stack just in general. And then last but not least, we have the Tampa Bay Rays going against Joe Boyle. Joe Boyle has not pitched well at the major league level this season. He's a guy that walks too many guys from time to time as well. The Tampa Bay Rays don't really have history versus him in the past, but definitely some significant upside there at the same time as well. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown in terms of the core picks and top GPP stacks for tonight's slate. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And then as always, I'll be leaving all the updates down in the comment section of this video, whether that is weather related, starting pitcher related, and then I will also be posting all the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the afternoon and early evening down there as well. So definitely make sure you're checking up on all that information as we do get closer to lock. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have MLB DFS in terms of the core picks Monday through Friday. I have my CFL DFS video coming out once a week, typically on Wednesday, so definitely feel free to check that out. Hopefully you guys had some good luck if you played CFL DFS this week as well. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description of this video for Prize Picks, Parlay Play, and BetUS. If you are a brand new user on any one of those 3 sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's 100% match up to $100, and then for BetUS, it's 125% match on your first 3 deposits up to $2,500 in total aggregate. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.